next speaker has asked someone special to introduce him.
This is where I applaud.
Oh, yeah.
That's Zig Ziglar in a 747 and right outside the engine. Dave Morton has promised to clean up that audio. Back in 1991, I attended my first NSA meeting. And someone at that meeting said, look, if you want to be the best, you better learn from the best. And I was an executive at UCLA at the time, and I realized I wanted to make a transition from being an executive into professional speaking. I said, who could I learn? Who might be the best? What name came to mind?
Zig Ziglar.
Right. So why not learn from Zig Ziglar? So I wrote him a letter and suggested a research topic. Zig liked the research topic. 3 months later, I was flying down to Dallas, attending his 3-day Born to Win seminar. At that seminar, I learned my first of 3 lessons that I'd like to share with you that I learned from Zig. At the end of the 3 days, Zig said to the entire audience, anybody want to stay over an extra day? I invite you to church. I thought, going to church with Zig Ziglar? That sounds like an interesting experience, so I did. And that's when I learned my first lesson. Not from the minister, but I watched Zig watch the minister. Anybody know what Zig Ziglar does in church? Yeah, besides pray.
Notes.
Exactly. He took notes. I'm like, take notes? He takes notes in church? And that's where I got my first idea that has contributed to my success over the last 20 years in the professional speaking business. I take notes where?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, including church. Because I realize those fleeting ideas are fleeting ideas. And you've got to catch them. All the time, every day, wherever you go. So that was my first idea. 6 months later, I'm flying back to Dallas to share some of the research results with Zig. And Zig Ziglar picks me up at my hotel and says, Dave, I'll drive you to the office. I said, okay, Zig. He said, but do you mind if we do a few errands on the way? I'm like, no, let's do errands on the way. Where do we need to go? He says, first we got to go to the drugstore. So we went to the drugstore. He said, well, all right, we did the drugstore. Now I got to get a haircut before that afternoon meeting. Hey, do you mind coming to the barber with me? I'm like, no, sounds like fun, Zig. We go to the barber, and that's where I learned my second key to success in the speaking business from Zig Ziglar. See, Zig practiced something what I now call haircut integrity. You know what haircut integrity is? It's Zig Ziglar in the barber chair is the same person you see on stage. And I started to think, oh, am I the same person up here as I am out there? And for 20 years, I've continued to try to make those two people the same people. I encourage you to do the same. And the third key that I learned from Zig occurred about 3 years after our initial research. You see, we published the research in an academic journal. And I was flying through a airport, and Zig, unbeknownst to me, calls me on my cell phone, but I didn't know it was him. So I looked at the cell phone as it was ringing. I don't know who that is. I'm not answering it. So I didn't answer it. Until a few hours later, I was still at the same airport. You know that story. And I said, oh, I better answer that. I can hear it. That's probably him calling right now. I told him I was going to do this presentation and give me a call. So here I called back, and here was the voice. Dave Jensen, this is Jeannie Ziegler's happy husband. I got a research question for you, Dave. Can you call me? On my cell phone. I call Zig on his cell phone. I explain the research. I then send him a PowerPoint. And as I was putting the PowerPoint together, I realized the third principle I was learning from Zig, and that is this. That motivation without research is as dangerous as lightning. You see, Zig is known as one of the world's top motivational speakers, correct? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Right. I stole that from Zig. So yes, of course he is. But Zig is intent on motivating people to do the right thing, to do those things that only research proves will get the results. And in that moment, I realized I need to continue to dedicate myself, that what I teach up here has predictive value to get the results out there. And I encourage you all to do the same thing, because that's my business. My business now is transforming proven leadership tools into client success stories. So that's what I do. I'm happy to talk with anybody. I wanted to share those 3 tips that I learned from Zig, and I still take notes everywhere I go. I have a little gift for those of you who'd like it, the Dave Jensen quotations with my leadership model and business card for anybody during the breaks you want to see it. I'll have them available to you. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Dave. We're doing well this morning. That was excellent.